the Planning Commission for April 8th, 2024 to order. Approval of agenda and minutes. Any changes to the agenda?
Do you want to do roll call?
Yes. Can we do roll call, please?
All right. Madamore is absent. Heisler White.
Present.
O'Toole.
Here.
Priscillic.
Here.
Schneider.
Here.
And Moody is absent. That is 4 present, 2 absent, and 1 vacant seat.
All right, thank you. Okay, approval of the agenda or changes to the agenda? Any changes to the agenda? Then can we have a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
Can we get a second? And I'm looking to the folks online because me and Donald are the only ones here.
Second.
All right, it's motion to approve the agenda and seconded. So it's approval is done. Meeting minutes, the minutes from March 25th, 2024. Any changes? I hope everybody's had a chance to at least look at them. If so, I will look for a motion to approve those.
I move to approve.
Second. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Citizen comments for non-agenda related topics. I see a lot of people here tonight, probably for a specific project. So anything outside that project, we would be looking for citizen comments on. And is there any in the room? Going once, going twice. Any online? I don't see none online. Okay, so we'll close citizen comments. Planning Commission and staff reports and comments. Donald, you want to give the Planning Commission a report on the stormwater focus group?
Sure, try and keep it brief. So we had a meeting on the 4th of April, and Jake, you're in attendance. We were told that a preliminary presentation had been made to the city of what the stormwater focus group was doing and who they were consulting with. I looked for, but don't see the minutes for the 4th of April meeting posted. So it sounds like the recommendation from the consultants is they will go with the impervious area fee for each home. And on the day we met on the 4th, they were completing, or someone was completing, an aerial surface of all properties in Laramie. And so presumably that will be in the bag by the time the presentation is made to the city council. So it's going to be based on a median of impervious area in the city, which is about 2,750 square feet. And so that would constitute a billing unit. So that would be a single billing unit. So if a gas station had 3 times that surface area, they would be charged 3 billing units. We were told that the stormwater discharge into the Laramie River will be monitored for quality using sediment alone, since that's a good proxy for contaminants. The cost to the city was estimated to be around $4 million per year in capital expenses. And that omits new hires, administrative and customer service costs per year. So we were only shown a projection for the first 10 years. It would vary between $1.7 million and $13 million per year. And a capital fund would be established to try and keep the project afloat. There was some concern that was voiced, and that was for West Laramie, where in areas where there's no paving, since folks are likely to be unhappy with a stormwater fee if they have no curb and gutter but I understand a major drain is going in at the moment. One of the concerns that Tom Matamore had raised at this meeting, and Tom was usually our representative at that meeting, was that having a stormwater drainage fee might discourage smaller, large companies in town. The consultant, Mrs. Treadway, said she was not aware of any city she had worked with where that fee had discouraged small business or large business. We've had an overall estimate of the cost of the project, and it's somewhere around $130 million or north of that. And the initial goals will be met at a cost of about $40 million. The big reveal was that, and this is just an estimate, but the fee is likely to be for the average homeowner around $6 to $8 per month, but that's tentative. So there was some discussion about that fee and whether that fee would cause any problems. The consultant is going to present the plan to the city on May 28th. And by that time, they should have parcel by parcel data and a firmer estimate of what the cost per impervious unit is going to be. And there will be one more meeting of the stormwater focus group after that sometime in June. That completes my report.
All right, thank you. Donald, staff, any comments, any? Wilson on anything? See Joseph getting up.
Chair Commission, I just also want to point out something that we pointed out in other meetings is that we currently have an opening on Planning Commission. As of this morning, we have not had any applications for that position, but that position is still open. So if you or anybody in the community is interested in being a part of Planning Commission, those applications go through the city clerk's office and is ultimately decided on by city council, who is appointed to that position.
Where can the applications be found at?
So applications can be found on the city of Laramie's planning commission's website. Ryan, is there anywhere else where those are generally found?
They can pick them up here at City Hall as well. If
Okay.
they come to the utility billing and ask for one, we can provide it.
Okay, thank you. Submittal schedule. Joseph.
I should have known not to sit down. Chair Commission, as is our usual, every year we come out with a submittal schedule. This submittal schedule goes through our applications that need to go through Planning Commission, our submittals that need to go through Planning Commission or City Council, either one reading or 3 readings. What this is essentially an opportunity for developers, people who are applying for any permits, to know roughly how long it will take to get through the process and what meetings they need to be prepared for to come to. Ultimately, this is just a rough estimation of the process, and this is the perfect scenario if nobody has to do resubmittals or anything like that. But every time we do this, we like to bring this before you all so you all have a chance to look over it, and then your approval of this time frame.
Okay,
and I'm
thank you. So you need a motion from the Planning Commission to approve this, or does this go to the City Council, or what is our?
No, this just stays in Planning Commission.
Okay. All right, thank you. With that, can we have a motion to approve the 2024 submittal schedule as submitted?
I move to approve the 2024 submittal schedule as submitted.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded for that 2024 submittal schedule. Disclosures, ex parte communications, potential conflicts of interest. Anybody on the Planning Commission have anything they want to volunteer to tell us? I'll take that as a no. Let's see, current planning projects, old business, no old business, new business. Final plat 24-02 paintbrush edition, 4th filing plat. Derek, please take it away.
Chair, Commission, the item before you is a final plat for the Paintbrush Edition, fourth filing. This is a 15-lot, single-family residential subdivision that's located in an R1 zoning district. This is kind of located in an area that some of you may be more familiar with, which is called the Coughlin Pole Mountain Edition. Think near the Indian Paintbrush Elementary School, south of the Cirrus Sky development and the pathway that goes along the ridge, kind of up at the north part of town. The streets up there are Dillon and Battle Street. If you look in your packet, we've included a map that kind of shows the lots that are being platted. As it's noted, this is the fourth filing within the Paintbrush Edition. The preliminary plat was approved and since then has gone through subsequent final plats, this being the fourth final plat for 15 residential lots. As you'll see, based upon the map, this is kind of connecting two streets and an area where we've seen kind of development moving kind of to the north and to the west within the subdivision. Overall, you'll see within the subdivision is you're having the development of two streets, which I had already mentioned are Battle and Dillon Street connecting. You're going to see the sidewalks, curb and gutter, fairly standard development practice there. All of the lots meet the requirements of the zoning district as permitted within the R1 zone. You'll see in the staff report, looks like you have lots ranging from 7,400 square feet to about 11,500 square feet. As I mentioned, these lots are intended for single family detached dwellings. Parkland dedication with all final plats, we see parkland dedication as part of this project in the Paintbrush Edition. During the first filing, donation of 4.69 acres was given near the Cirrus Sky boundary with a lot line adjustment in order to address all of the land dedication associated with the whole preliminary plat. And so no further individual dedication or in lieu of fee is given with this one as they've fulfilled that requirement. Probably of note, we do have water and sewer in this area, standard of a city subdivision. Stormwater management, if you look, it's the one public comment that we received regarding this project. Stormwater management in the area is dealt with by surface drainage. It essentially flows towards the south to regional detention areas that are located kind of on north of Reynolds Street between Bath and 23rd Street. The project before you meets all of our standard requirements for stormwater drainage, as well as all of the conditions that were included within the preliminary plat. Staff recognizes that you do see issues up there. We've had storms in the last few years that have been pretty problematic. But we believe that as we continue to see this area develop and it's actually finished out and the whole plan is done, that we should see improvements in that. But with all final plats, one of the main things we go through some of the basic findings. One, making sure that it complies with the preliminary plat, which we do believe it does. It meets all of the requirements associated with it. It is also been approved for construction, so the plans have been looked at and reviewed. And finally, any applicable improvement agreements will be required. We do not have that in front of us, but we always require that prior to city council, which we will have before this reaches city council. As I noted, we do have one public comment. We included that in your packet. And so aside from that, I really don't have any other further comments. We do recommend approval as it does meet our requirements for a final plat. And so I'd be happy to take any questions. I'll also note that we do have the city engineer, one of the city engineers available if you have any specific questions. So with that, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Derek from the Planning Commission?
So I have two questions, Derek. It seems the area that's going to be developed is very close to the base of the ridge line. Is that going to create a lot of problems in terms of runoff and sediment, especially getting into stormwater?
We think that actually the development is gonna actually improve that, because right now what you have is you do have some water that just comes naturally off the hill. As you have houses and the actual stormwater infrastructure, the streets in place, we believe that that's gonna improve. And that's what the plan is intended to do, generally speaking.
And the second question is in relation to the note we got from Kenneth Jones, the comment you mentioned. And he sent along some photographs showing some fairly spectacular flooding in that area. So there's going to be additional runoff coming off this property or off this development. Won't it just add to the flooding problem?
Chair,
In
Commission.
the short term.
Oh, sorry. I mean, Chair and Commission, I mean, what you do have is you do have more impervious surface, obviously, with each, each subdivision, more streets and things. What we're seeing and what we've seen in the last few years is some major events that have essentially created the pictures that you see. Based upon the information that we have and the actual analysis of the area, we believe that the design is intended to handle most storm events. Remember, the city's standards don't take care of every storm event. Any large, really, really large events, it doesn't take care of, because we don't require design for the absolute worst thing, i.e. the biggest storm that we possibly can have. And so, what you see in these pictures may be indicative of what we've seen in the last, the dates actually that are in here, but also too, we do believe too, as the streets develop, we're going to be able to channelize that water and bring it where it needs to go versus, pooling up or coming off just the hillside unimpeded right now. So, I mean, that's the answer that I can give. I'd be happy if, I don't know if William Winkler has anything further he might like to add in terms of that from the city engineering's perspective, but I try to provide just a general answer there. So.
Thank you.
William, you have anything to add for us?
Well, not really. No. So honestly, as far as the drainage in that area, what we look at when our office is reviewing that is the drainage plan that was approved with the preliminary plan. So what we have in front of you for approval follows the previously approved plan. And that is what we agreed on years ago with the developer, that they would be responsible to put those improvements in. Those met the standards at the time, and that is what where their responsibility ends. What Derek's saying is generally correct. Yes, we do think that having all the infrastructure in place will improve things. The biggest improvement that we're going to see is sediment transfer. Sediment transfer is going on because we still do have essentially active construction sites. The developer has done a good job of trying to come in and seed directly after construction in areas and help mitigate that. There's been BMPs in place, but those also have effects of kind of reducing some of the flow at times. So I think with further build out, yes, we're going to see some better functionality with maintenance. Yes, we don't know the maintenance situation for every one of those pictures that was going on in those in the letter that you were provided. I will state that there was a very large storm at one point that generally went on the northern portion of the city, and I did not go back and confirm the dates from the pictures, but I would venture to guess that some of those pictures came from that event that was very significant. So, yes, I do think that it will get better. Impervious flow, you will get additional water. But what I'm hoping and what I think will come from this is that the sediment control will come from some of this further development as well.
Okay, thank you. I guess that's all the questions. Yes, Donal.
Mr. Winkler, can I ask Mr. Winkler a question?
Yes.
Mr. Winkler, how close did the water detention pond on Reynolds come to filling up? On those storm occasions, was it kind of half full, third full, nearly full?
Sorry, I don't have all the commissioners' names committed to memory, and I don't see it in front of me. But to answer your question, we try to get out and see all the ponds. We don't always see, so I don't have a direct recollection of how full that pond was. I do not remember the pond overtopping and going to the overflow for that area, but I don't have an exact recollection of that event.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions from Planning Commission? Seeing none, do we have the developer or developers representative here that?
Chair, yeah, I do see him. He is in the room. Warren Greaser is here. I didn't see Carla, but okay, cool. Okay. Oh, they're
Yeah,
both, yes, they're both here. I
Okay.
think. Sorry.
Great, please, if you would state your name, please, for us.
I'm Warren Greaser with Rawstone Development. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Planning Commission, Donal, you have any questions?
Do you have any concerns about flooding in this area?
I can maybe fill in where, because I was over there during some of those rain events.
I can fill in where on the August 22 rain event, that was a huge storm that flooded shops downtown. It flooded houses in town that had never been flooded before. Every pond on the north side of town was full and back charging out of storm sewer inlets. So that was a big rain event. As far as last year's, those were pretty much the standard rain events that we see over there. They were filling the detention pond maybe a third full. Yeah.
A quick question for you on, is there any proposed improvements on the north side of the development, kind of on the side of that hill? Or is it just all within the footprint of this development?
So let's see. So along on the sheet that shows the preliminary, if you look at that sheet, there's a ditch that runs all the way down, maybe from lot 5, block 4, down the back of all these lots to the east, and it eventually curls and dumps into maybe the middle of Greentop Street. There's a ditch there and a storm sewer inlet there, and that gets piped from that location down through a walking trail that's mid-block between Greentop and Plains Street, and then that goes down the storm sewer line in Bath to that pond.
So that ditch was an attempt to divert some of that off-site flows from coming on site.
So
and
that
and
intercepts
during
anything
interception.
coming off the hillside.
Yeah, okay,
That's right.
okay, thank you.
Where we're sending a little bit of extra water, everything north of Greentop Street right now will eventually from those storm sewer inlets to the east will flow into those inlets. But for now we have those basically protected by storm sewer protection to not let that sediment get in those inlets. And so that's pushing that water instead of in the inlet and down through the storm sewer pipe. it's pushing it down the street and it's ending up coming down Dillon Street.
Okay,
So we're sending additional water that way right now.
okay, thank you. Any other questions from Planning Commission for the developer? Okay, hearing none, I guess that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I guess we'll open it up for public comment. And I'm assuming there's a lot of people here probably for this item. Please limit your response to 2 to 3 minutes, state your name and address all questions to the Planning Commission, please. And with that, I guess we can open it up for public questions, comments. And if there's no public comments, we'll close the public comment period on this. And we will move forward with our agenda. And with that. Oh, I pause.
Point of clarification, is this 260 North Pine variance?
This is not, this is the paintbrush edition.
Thank you.
Okay. And with that, we'll close public comment for the FP-24-02 paintbrush edition, fourth filing final plat. Do we have a motion?
Jake, I move to recommend approval, and I hope I'm looking at the right place. I move to recommend approval to the City Council of the paintbrush edition fourth filing final plat based on findings of fact and conclusions of law.
Okay. Do we have a second on that motion?
Second,
It's been moved and seconded. Brad, can we have a roll call, please?
Madmore is absent. Heisler White,
Aye.
O'Toole,
Aye.
Priscillic,
aye.
Schneider,
Aye.
and Moody is absent. So that is 4 yeses, 0 no, and 2 absent.
Okay, motion passes. On to long range planning projects. Phil, what do you got for us?
Nothing for long.
Oh, nothing for long range. Okay, I'm sorry. Variances. Do we have a motion? Is that correct? To
Motion to adjourn as
planning commission and re-adjourn as Board of Adjustment.
I move to
Motion
adjourn and reconvene as a Board of Adjustment.
Do we have a second on that motion?
Second,
It's been moved and seconded and all in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, variance 24-01 to 260 Pine Street under LMC 15.18.010.8.15 alleyway width. Philip.
Yes, good evening, members of the Planning Commission. Here to present on a variance request submitted by Pine Street Partners for a property located at 260 North Pine Street. This presentation aims to provide a comprehensive overview of the request, the rationale behind it, and our staff's recommendations. First of all, I just want to give a quick disclaimer on this variance. It has nothing to do with the use of the property itself, which the developer is represented this evening. If there are questions regarding what is going in, it's our understanding that it's a permitted use, whatever that development is, but I'm not going to speak to that because this variance request is strictly due to required public improvements that are needed in order to develop this lot. So Pine Street Partners is in the process of developing the lot and has this, and a significant aspect of this would be the installation of a paved alleyway. The project site itself presents a unique challenge. The existing alleyway measures only 16 feet in width which is significantly less than the 24 feet required by our municipal code, which is the variance, the code section that the applicant is requesting a variance from. So understanding the constraints faced by the developers, our city's engineering team, we've worked closely with them, and they've worked closely with Pine Street Partners to propose the conditions of this variance, which would be a 15-foot wide improvement to the alleyway. That improvement would be a concrete paved surface. So this proposal not only addresses the construction realities of this site, but would also adhere to the spirit of the municipal codes. Following standard procedures, the application was thoroughly reviewed by various city departments. The collaborative review process ensures that all interdepartmental comments and concerns are addressed effectively. And based on this comprehensive evaluation, we find the variance request is reasonable and also necessary in order to develop this lot. So you'll see in the section, I won't go through every one, but the findings for variance approval are there. The biggest one being that this is a unique circumstance that doesn't allow the property owner to develop this lot. So this reduced alleyway improvement width doesn't stem from the action taken by the applicant. It's just the setting of the site itself. Granting this variance does not merely facilitate the developer's need, but also aligns with the city's broader objectives of establishing more housing units. As we've all discussed at length before, this is a dire need, not only in West Side where this project is centered, but as in Laramie as a whole, in all areas, all neighborhoods. So our conclusion, after careful consideration and in alignment with the key findings that are required and set forth in our municipal code, we do recommend that this Board of Adjustment recommend approving the variance request with the attached conditions. And very importantly, one of the conditions is the alleyway design must be approved by the city engineer. This will be done through the site plan process. So in that, we carried out the public comment. We did that in accordance with city code, posted, mailed, and written in the Laramie Boomerang. So we received calls, definitely received calls. We didn't receive any direct comments on this from these calls. They're just really asking what was going on and when this board would be meeting to discuss the project. We did have a meeting with one adjacent property owner, Mr. Roy Sanchez, who I believe is in the audience tonight. Held a meeting at city offices with that property owner to discuss the project. But as always, willing to answer any questions, and also wanted to remind the board that the developer is represented this evening as well.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Philip? Please.
Through the chair, Philip, why was the minimum alleyway width set at 24 feet, and what is lost when it's reduced to 15 foot wide?
Yes, we have the city engineer's office represented as well here. But it's my understanding that most alleyways are expected to be two-way, and the drive aisle for that would be 12 feet, hence being 24. So if William, from the city engineer's office doesn't have anything else to add, I think one of the design criteria is also going to be that this is going to be one way. This is going to be a one-way alleyway, hence allowing for that 15-foot narrower width to work within our existing drive aisle widths.
Any implications if it's reduced down to 15-foot wide? Any implications for emergency vehicles?
Through you, Chair, we did review this through our fire department, through the fire marshal who does the health and safety there. We did not receive comments, so we don't believe that there would be an issue there.
Thanks, Philip.
Any questions online? Okay, seeing none. I've got a question. What are the ramifications of this variance if we don't approve it? It just remains 24 feet.
Mr. Chair, that's correct. This board is able to make that choice, and yes, that would not allow the developer to do the public improvements required to develop the lot.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Philip? Okay, thank you, Philip. And what comments from the developer is Mr. Coffey, please. State your name and who you represent, please.
Yeah, I'm Dave Coffey with Coffey Engineering. We're representing the developer. I just wanted to make a point of clarification is that the alley as it's currently platted is only 16 feet. So what we're really requesting is a little bit of room to be able to get concrete forms in so that we can properly pave the alley. This is not going to be a 24-foot wide alley simply because it's already platted. The adjacent landowners have access to an existing 16-foot alley. There's nothing really more to this application.
So I guess to clarify that the request, the platted 16-foot still doesn't meet the 24-foot minimum requirement.
Correct.
Is
It was platted nearly
100 years ago?
So it predates the current standard, which is required for new alleys to be platted and built at 24 foot.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Coffey? Seeing none? Okay, I guess that's all thank you. I guess we'll go to public comment. And please limit your comments to 2 to 3 minutes because it looks like we have quite a few, and state your name and please address all questions through the chair.
Yeah, my name is Mark Anderson and live directly west of the property. And I would ask Dave or Joe to tell us what we're looking at as far as development. I mean, you know, if it's one house, one garage, I'd probably be very much for it. You know, if it's 24 units and it's a big garage, we're hearing a lot of different stuff. So I would like to have that cleared up.
Okay.
Please.
All right, we'll take that and then we'll have Mr. Coffey come up at the end because maybe there's more questions for him. So thank you. Next, yeah.
And if you make public comment, there's a sign-in sheet. If you could sign in, please. Thanks.
Yeah, hi, I'm Chandler Hockup. I'd like to make 2 comments. First is on rainwater. I know for a fact concrete's going to put more rain onto our property just by the fact that it's going to wash off. That area already doesn't have great drainage as it is. Second comment is just safety. I'm assuming the implication of paving this is that there will be more cars on it. It's a really tight alley. There's not great visibility on either side of it. I do not support the idea of a bunch of cars going down such a narrow alley.
Okay, thank you. Please sign in.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Hargrove and I live right in front of the empty lot and right adjacent to the alley that they are discussing. And I would just like to ask you to please consider the people that already live there. Much of, at least our sewer line, I don't know if anyone else's, goes straight to the alley. So if this were to go into effect, we would now be looking at digging through pavement and concrete rather than just dirt if something were to happen to the sewer lines. But even more so, just on a personal note, as the previous person stated, it's a very narrow alleyway. There's already a community that lives there, and having cars go up and down that alleyway is going to be very disruptive to our everyday lives. Not to mention our sleep schedule, so.
Okay, thank you. And please sign in. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Roy Sanchez. And I live at the south end of that alley. Right on 359 West Freeman. Before this happened, when he had the viaduct. People weren't using the street light. They weren't using the stoplight. They were using that alley. And it was more than once, I almost got nailed there several times. Just driving down the street. And if people don't look, they just drive right through it. They don't care. Do they stop? No. I've lived there for almost 40 years. I was born and raised in this town on the west side, 1945. My birthday's coming up. I'll be 79 years old. That's how long I've lived on the west side. And there's no place in town like it. And I don't know why the city planners or the city council wants to come back and tell us how to live. I don't think that's right at all. Is it? Is it right? I'm asking you.
Mr. Sanchez, please address comments through the chair, please.
Anyway, I want to know why this has got to go through. Who is going to make all the money off of that place? Who? The developer. He's going to make fortunes. He's going to make a fortune and we're going to sit there watching him make all that money. What does it good to us? It don't do me no good at all. It'll lower the value of my property. Somebody's already got a $295,000 property on my property. They ever said this, that's what your house is worth. And it's just going to go up in value. No, it won't. Who's going to want to live by that mess? And it's in a flood zone. And yet these guys want to get it all developed and say, okay, this is good for the city. I don't know who it's good for. Is it good for me, my wife, my neighbors? It's not good for none of us. I don't know why the hell you got to have it for. This guy comes along, he buys that land dirt cheap from Spiegelbergs, and now he says, oh boy, I'm going to develop that land. Why? Nobody can tell me why. They lied to me, just like this guy back here. I asked him, would you like to have that alleyway paved behind your house? He said, no. Would you like to have that mess built right beside your house? And he said, no. Would you want Laramie to grow like the Front Range? And another answer, no. But yet, look what they're putting to us. They're socking it right, and we're getting it. And they don't want to stop. This isn't the first time we've had problems with this developer. It's happened before. Took it to the city council. We won. Now they say, oh, well, that was just for the zoning. That was just for the zoning. So now it's, what is it doing now? R2, R1, whatever. So that's what they're going on. And that property is going to kill me and my neighbors. It's going to hurt us all. It's going to hurt the west side. It was downtown Laramie at one time, and now what? Now what? Now what do we have? We got some jerk coming along and says, I'm going to make a big fortune here. I'm going to sell these goods for $400,000 a piece. And we got scared to watch him make it. How about the noise at 1 and 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning? We're not used to that. That is not the fair thing to do to us.
Yeah.
But when money talks,
and
is my time up?
Yeah, I'm sorry, your time is up and we hear your comments. And again, as Philip was saying, it's about, this variance is about the alley. And we'll get
Yes.
Mr. Coffey up here again to
Yes, I know
discuss
that.
the alley and some of those safety concerns and some potential implications or some potential remedies for that.
All right.
So, but thank you for your
Yeah, might
comments.
be.
We will, absolutely, we will take it into account. And please sign your name on the sheet there, please.
Hi, my name is Hannah Heusler. I also live right behind that empty lot. I just have a question. Would any type of development on that property require this alleyway to be paved and extended?
It probably, as Mr. Coffey noted, the driveway width, I'm sorry, the alleyway width is 16 feet currently. And so it would still function. I mean, whatever would function through that alley would function through the alley. I believe the request is to allow for a 15-foot alleyway design. So they could put forms in and concrete it, right? I mean, I don't know about the long-term or the answer to that. I mean, the alley would function as an alley regardless of whether it was concreted or it wasn't. I mean, their expectation or their desire is to pave it, probably for better access for trash trucks. I'm not exactly sure, but I think whatever would happen there, the alley is only 16 feet wide regardless.
Yeah, I'm asking specifically about the paving part.
I'm on. Am I not talking close enough to my microphone? So we can ask Mr. Coffey that question as well, and maybe Philip can answer that at the end as well. So
Thank you. And then one other question is, would it change, because I realize that the alley width is maybe different than the property lines, would there be any required moving of fences in order to accommodate development there? That's all.
okay, thank you. Any other comments, please?
My name is Wendy Chapman. I have lived in the West Side for 25 and a half years, and I love the neighborhood. I think that allowing this variance is a bad idea. I think it would set precedent for other doing this again in other parts of the neighborhood. As far as what's required now for alley width, that doesn't seem like it can be imposed on our neighborhood. It occurs to me that it's like dental work. You can't just like if you consider our houses like teeth, we can't just like change everything. The alley is 16 feet wide, and we have to live and accept what's imposed on us with the current zoning and the current rules. And the developer should have to too. We shouldn't break the rules for them. Nobody's breaking the rules for us. Also, our neighborhood, everything's little in the neighborhood, including the alley. The houses are little. We don't want to be in the shadow of big buildings. We don't want high density housing packed into our neighborhood. I mean, like I said, I've been in the neighborhood for 25 and a half years. And we have some neighbors who have moved into the neighborhood recently, and their families think that their homes are their starter homes, and they want to stay there forever because they love their homes. And some of them are in danger of being in the shadow of whatever goes up, whatever gets built there. And like one of the neighbors said, it'd be nice to have a house. It would be nice to have a house with a family, that's the same size as the rest of the homes. Another thing with packing housing in, and I know it's about the alley, but the alley we're only talking about this because they want to develop the property. But parking would be crazy in our neighborhood. It would impact all around. So height and density, we want to keep both of those things low. Also, the developer should have to live by the same rules that we have to live by. And I want to say one more thing. Starting this at 4:30 makes it difficult for some people to get here. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I want to thank you for taking public comment.
Can you please state your name for us?
I'll get there. My name is Eric Henderson. I reside at 168 North Pine Street. It's the adjacent across from the property site plan 260. Just short ways away. When implementing a balanced and thoughtful development landscapes, City of Laramie catering should not permit new development to supersede existing area owner property concerns. Life, peaceful enjoyment of our properties, reasonable tax liability changes. These developments without a full site plan consideration, it's a divide and conquer strategy. It's truly not, it's not separate and distinct. As Mr. Coffey noted, 16-foot alleyway was designed over 100 years ago. That's how long we've been relying on our area neighborhood to be exactly as it is with 16-foot, not 15-foot. The trend for planning purposes is to go to 24-foot, to have two-way. That's the preferred way, not less, but more. That factor alone tells me that public safety really warrants a wider area, not a narrower one. And that is absolutely concerning. If you go down this particular alleyway or many others in the area of our neighborhood, sight, visibility, and speed. If you put concrete in versus dirt, you will have faster pace. You'll have faster traffic. You'll have increased flow with the development. If it goes as it was proposed in 2021, October, with rezoning requests to allow density of 83 as a density number for that. If you allow, as Mr. Phillips has noted in his February and April meetings of the neighborhood people, it indicates that a 1,250 square foot residence may be put across this space that they're looking at 260. Their number of city blocks as they were originally placed allows for about a fourplex to be put in there tightly, too tightly. Let the new owner with undeveloped property adhere to the existing codes as they are, not seeking a variance. This variance is absolutely catering and unnecessarily relieving burdens which should be there. They should be there for the property owner who buys it. After all of us bought our houses, and it's the single largest investment that we make in our lives is our primary residence in many cases. So I implore you to recognize that the absence of a fire department feedback alone, that public safety feature, the absence of comment is not sufficient for me to just say, let's pass this variance. I don't want to have somebody, any individual employed by the city of Laramie or anywhere else, to suppose that and assume that is clear sailing and we should approve the variance as staff recommends. I absolutely oppose guessing that it's okay. I absolutely oppose that as an area resident immediately adjacent. Now, as regarding notice, I would say beyond the Laramie Boomerang, of which I do not subscribe, no adjacent notification was made to my residence at 168, just one unit away, one city U.S. Postal Service number away from this location. Now, in 2021, we had to have 25% petition signed in order to get this 83 request, this request for density to be changed and zoning to be changed. We had to have a petition signed to get that process slowed, to get that process, due process noted. Now, I know I'm short on time, but I would say, why is the same standard not required of the city of Laramie in reverse? Why do you not have to give me notice and due process? Why is all this circumvention of notice being accepted in our community? That is not what's on the wall. Building our community through, what's that say? Respect, integrity. What's that? Teamwork. And what's that other? Stewardship. Forgive my vision, but that is the vision that we can all adopt and love. Not to reduce an alleyway and speed it through a one-way process where visibility is going to concern children in the neighborhood that don't look both ways. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Please, you have a question coming to you that's gonna
Yes,
What-
Mr. Chair.
ask the questions about letters to neighbors and
Yes,
within
it
the
is very
300-foot
important.
requirement.
For us to address that concern. As I mentioned during the staff report, we do adhere strictly to the requirements in city code, which do require us to send letters to every property owner within 300 feet of the site.
Are those letters like sign on delivery or anything like that that you know that people receive
They're
them or?
not. They are mailed standard US mail as accordance with city code and I believe state statute as well. So we have record of sending those. I just want to be very clear on that, as well as the newspaper advertisement and the posted notice. I just
Okay.
wanted to
Okay,
put that out there.
thank you. More public comments. I know everybody hasn't stood up yet, so please.
Yeah, Chandler Hockup again. I was just wondering, what are the requirements for this letter to have in it? Is it supposed to detail what it does? And the intention?
That's something that Philip will have to get up and respond to because I can't
I'd just
answer
like to
that
say
question.
It
So,
says that it's requesting a variance, but that's it. That doesn't give us information to make a decision on what's going to happen with this.
okay,
I also, I think you're gonna continue to hear that the statement about this alley paving for the public good, if it's predicated on the fact that it's good for the people in the neighborhood, I don't think you've heard anyone in the neighborhood say this is a good idea. So I'd just like to say that comment doesn't seem to live up to what you're hearing in responses.
okay. Philip, could you respond to that, please?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, glad to provide a copy of that letter. It's very standard. It has a vicinity map on it. It has the date and time of this meeting. It has a general statement of what is being asked for. And then it has a very clear paragraph with all of our information on it, how to get a hold of us and how to get a deeper understanding of the project, email, phone, address, physical address.
Does it typically, do they have a description of what that variance request is?
Yeah.
To some degree?
Yes, it says basically what is in your motion this evening of the section
Oh, okay.
in code that the applicant is seeking a variance from.
Okay, okay, thank you. Additional public comment? Please.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
My name's Mark Stansberry and I live at 167 North Cedar Street in Laramie, kind of around the corner from the proposed paving and variance of the alley along with the lot that wants to be developed. I bought my house about 30 years ago and have lived there since. I came to Laramie in 1978. So I've seen a lot of changes over the years, a lot of positive changes. And I've decided this is where I wanted to raise my kids. And I was a 25-year teacher up at Laramie High School and also the lab school. What I want to say is we were the first graduating class in the university to graduate in the Arena Auditorium in 1982. We've seen incredible changes in the university over the years that I've been here. And now we're starting to see some changes in neighborhoods that really don't care for change. I remember when I first came out here, I had an uncle up in Worland who's gone now, but he said, "Mark, I'm glad you moved here from Illinois, but don't tell any of your friends about Wyoming. We don't want them to come." And I think he was awfully honest to me about that. Well, there's a lot of people who don't want change. And I worried about the change at the university around Prexy's pasture when they talked about it. I thought, oh God, that's terrible. But I really like it now. But the things that are happening over in our neighborhood, I don't really care for very much. The houses that have been approved on Cedar Street, the boxy new cookie cutter houses, don't fit in with the neighborhood. The other duplexes around the corner from there don't, I mean, my house was built in 1919 and there's a lot of them in that age. I think if you ask people over there, I don't think they're totally against changing things, but they want to change things for the right reason. At meetings, I will say I didn't get a letter. I have gotten letters that say I'm within 300 feet of that. And this time I didn't get it. I only got it because I had a good neighbor come by and say, oh, you better come down and they're going to talk about this and that. And I said, sure, I'll try to come. I think they're talking about platting the area where I've taken my kids out to pet horses and taken the dogs to walk for the last 30 years, looking out on across the river at the territorial prison. And I just can't imagine having those cookie cutter houses thrown up in a beautiful, beautiful place like that. I would say that, and I will say that I probably use that alleyway 3 times a week walking my dog. And it is a narrow alleyway, and I can't imagine it being paved and turned into a road, because a lot of the roads to either side of that alleyway are wide, but that alley's not. And it wouldn't, I can't imagine it being safe trying to get a first responder truck down through there. I can't picture it. Well, they'll probably say, well, we can come down Cedar, or we can come down Pine, but fact is that maybe we'll need to get down that narrow alley to save somebody's life. I think I liked what Eric said about stewardship. We're all stewards for the town. We're all stewards for Albany County. We all live here because we love it. I live on the west side because I really like the neighborhood. I have some great neighbors and people care about each other and we know each other's names. I think we should, or I think you guys should allow us to have really good input on these kinds of questions. And the last thing I want to say is I've seen a lot of people over the years come in, develop stuff and leave. And we're stuck. Doesn't matter whether you're talking about a greenbelt area with the old tie plant. It doesn't matter if you're talking about some of the oil refinery areas. People come, they develop the stuff you've built out by Interstate 80. It's god awful to look at when you drive on the interstate. I just can't believe that that's what we want people driving by our town to see. It's ugly. It's terrible. And if you need that kind of high density, you know, that kind of high density housing, then do it in a tasteful way. But I don't think we need it in that tract out there. I don't think we need it right there behind Roy's house, and I don't think we need to pave a narrow alley. I think we can do a lot of good things around town, but I don't think you need to force fit this stuff into our neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name's Emily King. I wanted to quote the staff report submitted. It says, the variance, if granted, will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood or district in which the property is located. And from what you heard, I think we can agree that that is not what will happen. It will change the character of the neighborhood. You know, as Coffee said, the neighborhood was designed well over 100 years ago. My husband and I's house was built in 1890. And I think we need to take that into consideration, the history of the neighborhood and the age of the neighborhood. And we agree that the property owner has the right to develop his land. However, I believe that it should be at the very minimum in the confines of the neighborhood. It should, you know, he shouldn't be able to build something that doesn't mesh with the existing neighborhood. And so we just really want him to take into consideration the, you know, character and the style of the neighborhood. And if the alleyways are small and it limits the size of, you know, a development, then so be it. And so, yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And please sign the sheet there. Thank you.
Jake,
Yes.
can I ask a question of folks when they're giving, after they've given testimony.
Is that appropriate?
I don't think we usually ask the public questions back like.
Okay, so no. Sorry. Any further public comment?
One more.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Mark Gunnarsson, and as I stated before, I live just west of this piece of property. And I'm sure something is gonna be done with this property. And it needs to be done. I think we're getting our head or our horse ahead of our wagon ahead of our horse, because as far as I know, I don't know what the design looks like that they're gonna put in there. Could be a, very good neighbor. And, if, like I said before, if you're gonna put in 4 garages back there, that would be 8 cars. I don't know that, that would be a big problem. But if you're gonna put in 24 units and you're gonna have 48 cars parked going down there, then you got a problem. And so that's why I'd like to ask that we find out what's gonna be going in on that property. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any additional public comment?
My name's Evan Eganoff. I live at 610 South Pine. I just want to make a general comment on the west side as a whole. We know this meeting is for the alleyway to widen it, but I think we know the bigger issue is development on the west side. And I think what everyone here is afraid of is collectively, I think if you live on the west side, you choose to live there for a lot of reasons. For example, my wife and I, we live in an 800 square foot house. We don't want children. We don't want to move, and all we hear about in town is development, housing shortage, et cetera, et cetera. And, there probably is unit housing shortage, but you should walk through the west side. There's empty houses, go down Grand Avenue or 3rd Street, sorry. How many derelict motels do we have that are just sitting there? And I think us on the west side, we're very scared because we have small houses that have small footprints and small heights. And especially with Wyoming's zoning laws, if you're a landowner, you have a lot of liberty to do different things. And we all understand that. We all do certain things to our properties, but we kind of feel encroached on because, like I said, is you kind of live on the west side for a reason. A lot of that to be left alone. And you even saw the first motion in this room with the development by Indian Paintbrush. No one came here to even comment because nobody cares if houses are built out there. It's just the reality. It's go build 15 units, get families out there, et cetera, et cetera. But, us on the west side, we are scared of what high density housing will do, because like a 100-year-old neighborhood, we're not up to code. There's flooding, small alleyways, et cetera, et cetera. And I think just as a community, we really want to be heard because we know landowners in Wyoming have a lot of rights to do a lot of different things, but we're really just pleading with you to listen to us to try to keep our neighborhood how it is. We know Laramie needs certain development. We totally understand. Like I said, nobody said a word about the Indian Paintbrush plat because frankly, no one really cares if there's houses built out there, but we appreciate your time. We appreciate you listening to us and just keep our thoughts, all these motions go forward. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there any additional public comment? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Coffey, would you mind answering some of the questions that have been posed? And I've got a few written down here if you want me to jog your memory.
Honorable Chair, Commissioners, I think if I missed something, please help me out here. There was a young lady that I believe asked a question about whether fences were going to be moved. No one's property is going to be moved as part of this project. We've done a property boundary survey for our client on this. The fences by and large are on the property lines. We don't anticipate needing to do any changes to any of the existing properties. Currently there, to answer Mr. Gunnarson's question, our client is looking at putting in 3 twin homes, all with single car garages that exit through the alley. Right now, there is only one garage that has alley access. So currently there are no other alley accesses by any of the other residents onto the alley. There was a comment about the floodplain. Yes, we're aware that this lot is within the floodplain. It's right on the edge of the floodplain, and we've already taken measures to ensure the property has minimal impact on that. As far as first responder access is concerned, as Mr. Gabenthaler said, the fire department had a comment, opportunity to comment. The reason they didn't comment is because they have no comments. That they can get trucks down it's our assumption that they can get the trucks down the alley and provide fire access just as well as they could prior to having the alley paved. I think that summarizes what I heard as major comments. I'm happy to answer any other questions.
There was one question about runoff, an additional runoff directed down the alley.
I would anticipate that there is going to be a little additional runoff because of the pavement. There will be an inverted crown so that the water is caught within that alley and not directed towards any of the landowners. It will all be directed to the streets.
Is there, if this variance is not approved, what occurs then?
What would occur then would be, instead of paving it 15-foot wide, we would do everything we could to pave it 16 feet wide. All we're really asking for in this variance is a little extra room on the sides so that we can effectively do a good job constructing it without any disruption to the neighborhood. I would point out that our original, when we found out that that our client needed to have the alley paved, we went to the city and said, look, we really don't want to have to pave the whole thing. There's only one-way access. We'll just pave 12 feet of it. It gives us a lot more room to work on each side. There's a little less impervious surface. And the comment back to us was, no, we don't want to do that. We'd prefer you to pave the whole thing. So we don't object to that. But what we really are asking in this variance, and honestly, I'm not quite sure why we're even here, because it's a constructability issue that we should be able to work out with Public Works and engineering, but so be it. Let's get it in front of the public. We just need to have, if it's to be a paved alley by city code, we'll pave it. Let's just be reasonable with the construction standards.
You said they're is that a duplex house? The way you twin homes? What size houses, like plus or minus?
1,500 square foot. We recognize that the homes that were done on Cedar and Flint are boxy and not particularly attractive. I can't tell you exactly. Yeah, I understand. These homes are going to be a lot more quaint. We understand, but they're twin homes. They got single car garages, and they're modern. They're not built, and they're not 1812 style homes. And honestly, that's not really up for debate here.
No, it is not. I would agree. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I think that's
the only other thing I would say is that we're not looking to skirt rules. Everything we've turned into the city of Laramie, we're expecting to be scrutinized and are happy to follow city rules and regulations accordingly, and expect the city will follow their own rules and regulations as we apply for building permits.
okay. Thank you. Donald, I think you had a question. Is that for Mr. Coffey here?
It's both for Mr. Coffey and for the planning folks. Are there any other 15 or 16 foot wide concreted alleyways on the west side?
I don't believe there are any in town. except downtown.
Yep. So,
Excuse me, Dave. We did the Rocky Mountain Car Wash. I mean, that's one example of you can go see, it's about a 16, I think maybe an 18-foot alleyway. And you see the construction, how it's inverted and the drainage works, but that's one I can think of, but
It's the only one I can think of outside downtown.
I guess I have another question, and that is, I guess I'm concerned that we've not heard anything from emergency services. I mean, I'm hearing silence is consent. But I would really, before I vote on this, I would really like to hear from emergency services that they can access the back of these properties through a 15 or 16-foot wide alleyway that's concreted.
Mr. Chair, through you, I do have the comment. It's not like they just didn't comment. But it does say, Office of Fire Prevention, Life Safety have reviewed this project, and based on the information provided, our office has no issues with the administrative redivision, and that is from Dennis Johnson, the Division Chief and Fire Marshal.
Okay, thanks.
So now we have a comment? Now we have a comment from the fire department, but we didn't have one before? Is that like?
well, sir, if I could, yes, please, if you have a comment, we can go back to public comment. Yeah, we can go back to public comment.
Mr. Chair, if I
Yes.
may respond.
Please.
Because it is important that this is out there, but this was from February 29th in our standard 3-week review period. It's just, we don't include these in the staff reports. We just provide the important comments that we received from interdepartmental review, but these are all recorded as well for.
So ultimately, when you tell us there was no comment, there was no substantive comment that would require a change to what was being proposed. The comment is, we've reviewed it and we think it's acceptable. And that means no comment.
Yeah,
give or
in a
take.
sense. So initially, a project will go out for review. We'll receive comments back. We'll work through those with the applicant and the appropriate city department. They'll resubmit. And then once we get to the point of no more comments, or the comments are addressed in a condition that's attached to an approval, that's when we get to that point. But
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? Yes.
Yeah, I guess one of the folks made the comment, I think it was Emily King, that it's important to retain the character of neighborhoods. Does the city have this is to the planning people, does the city have a formal commitment to retaining the character of neighborhoods?
Mr. Chair, through you, not to take too much time on the subject, but really the idea of community character per se is that's mostly encapsulated in our zoning, in our overlying zoning districts, which aren't specific to any areas in town. In particular, you have R2, which is where this property is. You have R2 all over town. You have R1 all over town, R3. So we acknowledge that there's definitely unique characteristics of this neighborhood, of the tree area, of Indian paintbrush area, of all, neighborhoods in the city of Laramie, but we don't, through code, protect neighborhood character any other way than through zoning.
So we're going through the process of looking for what, through you, what the West Side wants. Can you give us kind of a preliminary sense that what's been represented here by the people who are attending who are concerned about this development? Is it your sense that that might be the sense of the whole West Side neighborhood? In other words, they want to keep the character of the neighborhood. They don't want to see intensive, concentrated buildings that'll take away from that character.
Mr. Chair, again, through you, this is a great question. However, I do feel like I need to make a point of clarification here is that this lot is already situated, or this parcel rather has 5 lots on it. It's when it was subdivided 100+ years ago, it is comprised of 5 lots. The owner of this property is more than welcome at this point in time to build 5 different units on there with, you know, if they meet the setbacks, which they would, which in R2 are very small, they could even build 2 units on each property if they meet the requirements of R2. That being said, I think that is the bigger issue at hand, is that there is no existing overlay district for the west side. Is one necessitated, and is one being spoken to at some of these west side visioning sessions we're having? Yes, but it's not in effect today. In effect today, the property owner bought this as it's zoned R2, and the expectations are to develop it to R2 standards and none other.
Thank you.
And Philip, just a clarification, it might be redundant, but this variance request is for the alley. And based on what Mr. Coffey said, whether we approve or not approve this, it really doesn't have any effect on what happens on those lots. This is just directed at the alley improvements, correct?
Again, I think it's important to note that the design that's being proposed is what's necessitating the alleyway to be paved. If this is not approved, then this same design with the 3 duplexes could be serviced from Pine Street and would not require any special approval because it's in R2, which has these which has the allowance for this type of development.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any more questions for Mr. Coffey? Any online? Sylvie, Jenna, any questions from either of you? Okay, Donald, any further questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Coffey.
Thank you.
We can roll back through public. Yes, Philip, please.
Just one point that I feel is important for this board to consider is that given the requirements to approve or deny a variance, a quorum of the entire Board of Adjustment is required to approve a variance. So that's 4, since we have 7 planning commission members. And if the board chooses to deny a variance, then one of the findings that is addressed in the staff report needs to be addressed, and that needs to be clearly stated in the denial.
So then I guess a clarification on that process, if we make the motion and we don't have the support for it, and the motion is to, let's say, to approve it, and it doesn't get the motions, is then that denied because it doesn't have the approval? Is that how that works? Or do we have to have a specific motion then to deny it? I mean, is it the same thing to say if it is not approved, is it denied?
I'm looking to the city clerk.
I would say it fails by lack of votes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you, Philip. I'll run back through public comment, but I'm gonna cut it really short this time because we've heard from a lot of people. So if you have a public comment to follow up with what Mr. Coffey said or what the planning department staff said, now's your opportunity, but I won't give you a lot of airtime.
Thank you. My name is Wendy Chapman. I live at 170 North Cedar. Thank you. Okay. My name is Wendy Chapman. I live at 170 North Cedar. I just wanted to clarify one thing. As far as it being 5 lots, I don't know if you guys have traveled by the property in question, but the lots in our neighborhood are about the size of a postage stamp. So when they say 5 lots, it's not that much space. And also my question is, another question, it sounds like the alley will be paved no matter what. Is that true?
I can't exactly speak to that, but that is what Mr. Coffey sounded like he
And
was
like,
going
and
to
you
say.
asked if there are any other alleys in the neighborhood that are paved, and I don't know of any either. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Additional follow-up comment.
Yes, Chandler Hockup again. Yeah, Mr. Coffey made it seem like a foregone conclusion that it would be paved, and then there seemed to be a threat that if it wasn't approved for 15, it would be 16. I'm wondering what legal recourse everyone that lives on that alleyway has, or if it is true that anyone can just pave it. I mean, it needs city approval, right?
I would say that city approval is different than Board of Adjustment approval.
Okay.
And I know I didn't answer your question, but
Okay, no, that makes sense. It just seemed like it was a foregone conclusion, but I'm just wondering, can anyone just pave this alley? Because that seems unjust to everyone that lives adjacent to that alley.
do you want? And
Appreciate the opportunity to speak again. My name is Eric Henderson. I reside at 168 North Pine Street, as I stated earlier. Diverse needs of Laramie and housing concerns should not supersede the immediate residents' reliance on current resident standards. The city planning department clearly works for the city council, taking their direction, of which all of these meetings, not one city council member came to those, has come to those, has attended those. The number of people who stand in this meeting and are involved are testament to the very petition which we had to submit in order to slow the city planners from moving forward without taking us into account as residents, existing owners. Unique restraints at 260 North Pine do not warrant change detrimental to existing affected resident owners. Spirited language does not allow these specific changes to be incorporated and minimize that 15-foot or 16-foot to 15-foot area. Let them take that accommodation to be 2 twin units, not 3, if that's what's necessary within the space of R2 as owned in those narrow 8-foot by deeper. Philip, what's the depth on most of those lots? 8 foot wide, much longer in that narrow way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Caitlin Hargrove. I live at 358 West Clark Street, and I'll be very brief. My only concern is Mr. Coffey stated that with the alley being paved, the water would be diverted to the street, which in theory sounds great, but right now the street doesn't have enough drainage and it overflows even with just a basic rainstorm. A lot of times my husband and I are out there actually shoveling the grate so that water can go down the grate. So it does concern me that the flooding could get worse. I understand that the property area that's being developed may not be affected, but the properties next to it could be.
Thank you.
Here, yeah. Mark Stansberry, 167 North Cedar Street. I do appreciate you guys as public service, and I thank you for having us today to put in our comments. I will say that, you know, having the zoning dictate what happens in a neighborhood, having that be the sole control of whether it's an R2 or an R1 and how many foot this way and whether we can get a 2-lane road down this alley so we can build high density. I don't give a rat's behind about zoning. I've got an empty lot next to mine. It scares me to death. The city so wants to increase their revenue and build what they can, and I understand that. I don't know what's going to go in next door to me on Cedar Street. I've got just a little house and I don't want to be overshadowed. Roy doesn't want to be overshadowed. When I hear quaint quaint. I live in a quaint house, 1919, got a round window and a little spiral staircase to get up to a pitched roof top. But you know what? I haven't seen anything quaint built in this city for quite a while. They throw up cookie cutter things and increase tax revenue, and they get some housing for some people, but it doesn't fall in line with the small community. I live in West Laramie, in that little community, because of the people and the nature of the interactions. I don't live there because I can afford the biggest house in town. I walk around there all the time. I'm retired now, 30 years in the school district. I've never seen Mr. Coffee in our neighborhood. I don't know where he lives. I don't recognize any of these folks from walking around. And yet it's you guys who make the decisions on our neighborhood that we have to live with. I probably won't be around that much longer, but I want to leave a legacy where we have a loving community, where people look out for each other, and it's not just a push to build up, build out, and tear down. You know, I will say, since I've moved in there, there have been a lot of people move in and fix up the old houses, retaining the integrity, retaining the look of the community, and that's wonderful. But when you stick these things in that they're sticking in,
Yep, I'm gonna have to cut you off there.
it's terrible. It's a
Okay.
terrible
But
thing. And I'm sorry I ran long.
we've heard that, absolutely. It seems like that's a common theme tonight, so
Thank you for your time.
thank you. Okay, I guess is that all we got for public comment? And if that is the case, seeing none, I would take a motion on this, one way or the other, looking for. Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
So we lost Sylvie a little bit ago, and I'm not sure if this phone number that came in is her. Do you want me to just allow her to talk and see if that's Sylvie?
Yeah, because you can always mute it and hang up if it's not.
Okay. Is this you, Sylvie?
Yes, yes, that's me. I lost internet connection, but I'm here. I heard everything.
Okay, great.
Okay, are we good now? Okay, all right, as I was saying, we've had public comment, listened to the developer and public comment and staff's comments, and I am looking for a motion on this item. Got three choices. Or three members to make a motion, so.
Could we postpone the vote on this? So members, because there's only three of us present, maybe four. I would like to see the property. I would like us to go out and look at the property. I have not looked at the property.
Is that table it? What is the appropriate term?
Can we table a vote?
Yeah, Chair, the Board of Adjustment, you can, postpone or table a motion. What I would suggest that if you do that you're specific as to why you're tabling it. If it's simply just go look at the property, that's fine, but just making it clear so that if the expectation is that staff needs to provide something like something additional, like in terms of information, that we can do that so that you can be prepared to make a decision at a following meeting is all. So just postponing it to postpone it, I never recommend that. But aside from that, that's what I would suggest.
Okay.
I move we we table the motion.
Postpone?
Yeah.
That's what you want.
Is there a
Until
seconder?
what date? The 22nd? That's the next, is that the next meeting? April 22nd?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
Okay, second on that motion?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Brian, can you give us a roll call, please?
So just to clarify, the postponement is just for,
For the next meeting,
is to allow it.
to allow members of the planning commission to go out and see the site visit.
Okay. Just one sec. Okay, so Madmore is absent. Heisler White,
Aye.
O'Toole,
Aye.
Priscillic,
Aye.
Schneider,
Aye.
Moody is absent. That is 4 yeses and 0 no, 2 absent for postponement.
Okay, motion is postponed until April 22nd, planning commission meeting. Yes. Derek.
Chair, just since there were people here, we do have, the next meeting is April 22nd, as it was stated in the motion. We don't do additional notice after the first notice, so just letting everybody know if you want to come to the next meeting.
This is your notice.
The sign's still up and the notice is there, but just if you want to come, same time, 4:30, meeting starts, and April 22nd in this room. So just so for clarity.
Okay, thank you. Yes, no.
Could I ask Mr. Coffey one other question?
I think comment has been closed. Yeah, okay. All right, and that brings us to item number 9, adjournment. Can I have a motion?
I have a motion to adjourn.
Second? Do we have a second? Second, moved in a second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Nay. Okay. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all for showing up and voicing your opinion.
If you can't concrete the alleyway,